What's up guys, back with another video, and today I wanted to go over and give you guys some of my opinions on the recently released DOOM VFR for PlayStation VR and the HTC Vive. Doom 2016 was a great game, and I'm sure some of you are probably curious about how Doom VFR stacks up. Now before we start, I do need to mention that I did not receive review code for this title, and I ended up purchasing my own copy. Also, I will be going over both the HTC Vive and PSVR versions of Doom VFR in this video, and giving you guys my thoughts on each. So if you are a PC or a PS4 user, again, I will be going over both versions in this video. Finally, I should also probably mention that as of the recording of this video, I have not yet completed Doom VFR in its entirety, and thus, these are just my impressions of the game so far. But with all of that out of the way, let's go ahead and discuss the less desirable things about Doom VFR first, and let's start by talking about the PC version. Now, to be fair, I've noticed there are a couple of people on PC that didn't have problems. However, I've also noticed that there are a fair amount, including myself by the way, that are having problems with the PC version of Doom VFR. And in my experience, there has been constant frame rate stutter with the PC version, almost to the point where the game is virtually unplayable. And this is despite the fact that I have a pretty beefy PC, complete with a GTX 1080 Ti, a Ryzen 1800X, and 32 gigabytes of RAM. And if you're also curious, I even downloaded the latest drivers from NVIDIA, which at the time of recording this video are 388.43, and even that didn't fix the frame rate stutter. There are also a couple of PC gamers that are very upset at the fact that apparently Bethesda or ZeniMax introduced some code that blocks Doom VFR from working on the Oculus Rift. And while I can't confirm if this is true myself, because I don't own an Oculus Rift, I will say that if it is true, then it is extremely unfortunate, as a significant portion of VR users on Steam use Oculus Rift headsets. Ultimately though, I don't think I can recommend the PC version at this current juncture. But what I will say is if Bethesda takes time to address some of the bugs for Doom VFR, then I do think I will be able to recommend the game then. And this is because my experiences with the PS4 version of Doom VR have been fairly positive. And I would say that if you're going to pick up one of those versions at launch, I recommend the PS4 version because, at least in my experience, it has been a lot more stable. But I will get into the PS4 version a little bit later because I do want to talk about some of Doom VFR's bizarre design choices. My first major point of contention, provided the player is either playing with the Vive ones on PC or the PlayStation Move controllers on console, is simply that the player will not have access to full locomotion with this particular control setup. And while you can achieve full locomotion provided you use either a controller or the PSVR aim controller for the PS4, I think this decision hurts PC users the most, as many PC gamers barely ever play with the standard controller, and the preferred input method for PC, which are the Vive wands, are crippled by the fact that all movement is relegated to the left trackpad. Furthermore, the teleportation/dash movement scheme is incredibly temperamental, requiring the player's thumb to be directly in the center of the Vive wand's trackpad if they want to teleport, or on the rims of that trackpad if they want to dash. Not only is the movement scheme for the Vive wands crippled in this way, but if you're a left-handed person, there is no way to reverse the controls so the right controller can be used to move while the left hand shoots. So if you're left-handed, you're pretty much out of luck until Bethesda can update Doom VFR with a patch that adds left-handed support. Now, my final major point of contention with Doom VFR is sort of hard for me to explain, but it has something to do with the display of the hands on screen. As you can probably tell with this particular clip that I have showcased thus far, your player character's hands always appear to be floating in mid-air. Not only does this look kind of hideous, but from what I can tell, it does appear to throw the player's aim off to a considerable degree. For example, if you're using the Vive wands, Move controllers, or even the PlayStation aim controller, the gun models feel extremely rigid and can really throw off your accuracy. If your controller's tracking manages to reset or recalibrate while you're aiming, the gun model can stick, thus frustrating you to no end. And I also take some issue with the fact that the gun models themselves are decentered. And this is really bad for the PSVR aim because generally, I mean, if you want to aim, you've got to move the gun over unnecessarily, and it's just really awkward. Hopefully, Bethesda will take the time to fix this issue in the future, because even if you can actually play Doom VFR, this lack of polish in this one particular area could totally ruin someone's experience and totally turn them off from the game. Now, I know we're 6 minutes in, and I've been fairly negative in this video so far, so from now on, I will be talking about my far more positive experiences with the PS4 version of the game when compared to the PC version. The PS4 version of Doom VFR has two major advantages over the PC version. The first is that the console version's launch has been far more stable in my experience, and the PS4 has the benefit of a wider selection of control schemes. Admittedly, while the Move controllers kinda suck, especially when you consider that the dash movement is basically mapped to the X, circle, triangle, and square buttons on the Move controllers, which is incredibly unnatural. If you do own a PSVR aim controller, the PSVR aim controls are pretty respectable considering the circumstances. Obviously, the massive advantage that the PSVR aim has over the Move controllers is that you can achieve full locomotion with the aim, while still relying on motion controls for aiming. In fact, I would say that if you liked Farpoint VR for PS4, I could foresee you potentially liking to play Doom VFR with the PSVR aim. The only lame thing is that the PSVR aim is crippled by some of the poor design choices that I mentioned earlier. Because of the decentered nature of the gun models, aiming with the PSVR aim is relatively awkward, and as you may have noticed with some of the gameplay on the screen, the weapon's gun models seem to noticeably sag behind you as you move, thus potentially throwing off your accuracy even more. Again though, if Bethesda took the time to properly fix this, playing with the PSVR aim could potentially be amazing, much like it was in Farpoint. Ultimately, between the three controller types available in the PS4 version, I ultimately went with the gamepad as my preferred choice. And while the floating gun models sort of look goofy in the headset itself, the amount of control that you can have over your aiming is unparalleled. And if you're already fairly used to a controller already, I feel like you can be hyper lethal because you're not only moving pretty fast with the full locomotion, but you also have the ability to teleport, so you can quickly zip and zoom around enemies. For that reason, I think that I can say that provided that you are playing with the controller, Doom VFR is actually an enhanced version of Doom 2016 that allows you to not only move around sort of like Doom Guy would at breakneck speeds, but again, you can also teleport around and into enemies to glory kill them, and it's pretty satisfying. And really, I would say that assuming that you can get past the controls by just using a controller, Doom VFR is actually a pretty fun experience. And I've also got to say that I like Doom VFR's story concept. Basically, the player dies towards the beginning of the game, and your consciousness gets uploaded into a computer. From there, you end up accessing a bionic body, and you're tasked with restoring the Mars facility's operational stability by teleporting to various locations on both Mars and in Hell. And like Doom 2016, the player can upgrade their bionic body with Argent cores, and they can upgrade their weapons with specific upgrade attachments as well. Granted, because this is a shorter game than Doom 2016, these upgrades aren't nearly as numerous nor as fleshed out, but I would say that the experience is potentially pretty fun all the same. I do really want to stress, though, that there is a good game underneath all of the issues. It's just a shame that there are so many issues, from like controller issues to like bugs in the PC version, as well as some of the bizarre design choices, like having the guns decentered and stuff like that. In fact, I'm kind of surprised that the game launched in this state. It's almost like they were either rushed or something happened here, and it is really a shame because I think it hurts a game that is actually kind of cool in my personal opinion. But of course, at this point in the video, you're probably wondering, is Doom VFR worth it or not? Well, if you're planning on playing on PlayStation 4 with a standard controller, then at the game's launch, I would say that Doom VFR is worth it. Otherwise, I would say if you're going to play with any other controller type, this game is a definite skip, simply because at the time of making this particular video, I simply cannot recommend the PC version as it launched with a lot of bugs, and the Move or Vive wand control schemes on both the PS4 and PC respectively are, quite frankly, utterly atrocious. That said, if the bugs are eventually fixed, full locomotion is added for all control schemes, and proper aim support is added for the PSVR aim, this game could potentially be a definite recommendation for most people. Because like I said, I do think there is a good game here if the issues can be dealt with. At the end of the day, though, I guess if you are a pretty big fan of PSVR, then I would say this could potentially be a day one buy for you, again, if you use a standard PS4 controller, and you're willing to wait on better support later on. However, I think because there are a number of glaring issues, I don't really feel comfortable recommending you go out and buy this day one. However, like I said earlier, if a lot of things get fixed, then I could definitely see Doom VFR becoming a definite recommendation for a great virtual reality game. Ultimately, I would recommend that you wait for fixes and then pick up Doom VFR. But if for some reason nothing ever gets fixed on the PC or PS4 versions, then I would still recommend that you pick up the PS4 version and play with the controller, because as of right now at launch, it's actually pretty fun to play the game that way. I just hope Bethesda can work out all of the issues that a lot of people are currently having. But alright guys, I think that's going to pretty much wrap up this particular video. If you liked this video, feel free to leave a like, and let me know what you think about some of these virtual reality videos I've been making. Are you interested or not? Leave a like or comment below. Otherwise, click the bell to join the notification squad, and as always, take care, and I'll see y'all next time.